Welcome everyone once again. Welcome to today's presentation being hosted by Ready Education in partnership with NASPA. My name is Ali Janjua. I'm a content marketing manager here at Ready Education, and I will be your host for today's very exciting webinar. We'll be talking today about the unseen challenges to student success at community colleges. But before we really jump into the content of today's presentation, I wanted to go over a few housekeeping items. You'll see that on the side of your screen, there is a questions box. So should you have any questions or any comments through the course of the webinar, please feel free to type them into the GoToWebinar platform there. We will be doing a question and answer session in the end, and we'll also have a short one in the middle. So, as those questions come up in your head, put them into the box. We will definitely be answering as many as we can get to at the end of the presentation. Also, should you have any technical difficulties or any issues with the audio or with the video, put them into the box. My colleague will be happy to help you on the technical side of things there. All participants are currently muted, but fear not, you will be receiving the slides and the recording after the webinar ends. So as I mentioned at the top, sit back, enjoy the presentation, take notes as necessary, but you will be receiving all of the content. And finally, should you need any closed captioning for the presentation, we will be putting that in the chat box right now. I see that it's been posted there. So should you need closed captioning for this webinar today, please go ahead and follow the instructions in the chat, and then you will have access to those closed captions through that. All right, so with that out of the way, I'd like to introduce today's speakers to the audience. We have a great suite of speakers today. Dr. John Maduco, the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs at North Central Texas College, and Julia Arrege, the Manager of Student Applications at Sierra Community College. Dr. Maduco, could you just quickly say hi to the audience just to make sure we have you on the line there?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be a part of this event.
Thank you, Dr. Maduco. And Julia, could you please do the same?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Dr. Maduco. Thank you, Julia. I'm really excited to have you on the line today. So before we jump into the content, I'd love to learn, and we'd love to learn, about who's in the room. So you should be, just in a couple of seconds, you should be seeing a poll open now asking which department you're representing. So please feel free to take, a couple of seconds, just choose the option that fits you best. I'll be sharing the poll with you as soon as it is completed. So I'll just give about 30 seconds there in order to let everyone answer the question. I see that we're getting quite a few responses, and the majority of people in the room are representing student affairs. I think we're about at 55% student affairs, and then we have a small number of IT folks, as well as academic affairs and admissions and enrollment, and then a large portion of people who are coming from other departments. So it's really good to see that a significant portion of the audience come from student affairs, because this is really something. The topic that we'll be talking about is really something that is extremely important and essential to the student affairs office here. So you should all be able to see this, the result. And as you can see, 56% of individuals are from student affairs. All right, so I wanted to start off today's presentation by talking a little bit about a contradiction that is being faced by community colleges in particular. In general, community college students have proven to be successful. This is a study done by the Jack Kent Cooke Foundation. It was released at, I believe, sometime last month, and really shows, how successful community college students are compared to their peers. Here you can see the 6-year graduation rate by student type and by institutional selectivity. And you can see that the yellow bar there, community college students are more successful than their peers coming from either 4-year institutions or directly from high school across all levels of institutional selectivity. However, a very small percentage or very small number of community college students are actually completing their education. If we look at the rightmost bar there that represents 2-year public colleges, you see that 27% of students completed at the starting institution and 11% completed at a different institution. This means that 38% of students are completing their community college education, and a whopping 62% are not. So obviously we have, there's a sort of a dilemma here where community college students are successful, but yet a large portion of them are not completing their education. We know that community college students face immense challenges. However, what most institutions are unaware of is that there is a single biggest challenge is not being addressed. And this is really something that we are coming together today to identify and to figure out how can we address this challenge that most institutions are unaware of. So our objective today is to answer this question. Are we overlooking the biggest challenge to student success at community colleges? And we'll be doing this by first looking at the importance of community colleges in today's higher education landscape. We'll then dive into the challenges that are faced by students, which include this unseen challenge that students are facing. And this portion will be covered by Dr. John Maduco from North Central Texas College. Once we're through that portion, we'll then dive into how can we solve these challenges, including that unforeseen challenge. We'll talk about the one app concept, as well as the benefits of integration on your campuses. And this section will be covered by Julia from Sierra College. And finally, we'll wrap up with a question and answer session where you folks will get a chance to ask both Dr. Maduco and Julia on their thoughts, their experiences, their insights from their various campuses. So without further ado, I'd like to pass the mic over to Dr. Maduco to talk about community colleges, the challenges that students face, and this unseen challenge that students have. Dr. Maduco?
Hey, Ollie, thank you. Just a quick overview of my background. Like Ollie mentioned, I'm the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs at North Central Texas College here in Texas, in the northern part of Texas, and I oversee the Student Affairs Division for our 6-campus district. My experience in higher ed has been in student affairs, has been in enrollment management and academic affairs for both 2-year and 4-year institutions. Here at NCTC, we are a 6-campus comprehensive community college. We offer both technical and academic transfer programs. We serve about 21,000 students. 35% of our students are students of color, 24% of our students are dual credit, and our campuses reside in both urban and rural areas, and we're definitely seeing the challenges and impact on insecurities on our students. So going into the importance of community colleges and what they're serving now, currently 41% of all undergraduate students are enrolled in community colleges, right? So the word is out in regards to the cost-effective structure of community colleges. It's affordable. Graduates leave with minimum debt. The mission of community colleges nationally is open access. So, come one, come all. Regardless of your circumstance, regardless of where you've been, community colleges really open their arms to the masses. And that's how we differ from our 4-year counterparts. So in terms of the importance and impact for minorities, students of color, 40% of Asian Pacific Islander students, community colleges is an entry point for them. Going to African Americans, 43% of them, community colleges is an entry point. Speaking to Latinx and Hispanics, it's 52%. And then lastly, about 56% of Native Americans, community colleges serve as an entry point. So that is the direct impact and prevalence that community colleges are serving today in the U.S. And due to the growing numbers of students, undergraduate students, beginning their academic careers in community colleges, this demand will continue to grow. So by 2026, among Asian Pacific Islander students, right, it's going to grow by 12%. Amongst African Americans, it's going to grow by 20%. Amongst Latinx, Latinos, Hispanics, it's going to grow by 26%. And then for the Caucasian white student population, it's only going to grow by a mere 1%, right? So this is, again, demonstrating the importance that community colleges are having in our respective communities. So what is the impact of a 2-year credential, right? So at community colleges, we stress upward economic mobility. That's what we stress to our students. We stress the value and importance of what a degree, a credential will do for them. So in regards to an associate's degree for men, it's about an additional, $4,400 that they'll earn more per year than high school graduates. And for women, it's almost twice that in regards to over $7,100. Female graduates with an associate's degree will earn more than simply having a high school diploma. And we know from data our students want to transfer, right? So due to just maybe lack of confidence, due to systemic, cultural, historic oppression, many students feel that it's more appropriate. It's safer to start at a community college, but many community college students want to transfer, right? So, close to 81% of our students indicating and actually doing their two different things, but it indicated they want to transfer to a 4-year institution, but only about 33% of those students that indicate they want to go actually transfer to a 4-year institution within 6 years. So there is definitely an achievement gap, as you can see right here. So again, fewer than 40% of students earn a certificate or degree within 6 years. So again, we've talked about the benefits of community colleges, right? We've talked about the cost effectiveness. We've talked about the economic mobility that comes with earning a community college credential, but there's still a huge gap when it comes to the actual completion, right? Completion continues to be a serious phenomenon within the two-year realm. So let's talk about completion rates by household income, right? And as you can see right here, right, as in terms of basically the levels of income, you'll see a drop in terms of completion, right? So you'll see this inverse in regards to the higher the income, the lower the completion rate ends up being, right? So that's a dichotomy, that's a phenomenon that community colleges are truly trying to kind of answer in regards to like what is going on, right? Why is there a split between the household income, right, the socioeconomic status of an individual and their completion rate? And I think many of you on the call, the majority of you serve in student affairs, you guys are in this space. You guys are the front lines of institutions. You deal with the external factors. We all are colleagues and practitioners in higher ed, and we're seeing these phenomenons at our respective institutions. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, low completion rate is a huge concern. And in the 2-year community college realm, many of our states are aligning our funding to success rates. So based on certain student success metrics, that dictates the amount of funding we receive. Some states like Ohio, it's 100% a success rate structure. Other states, there's a split, have to be 10%, 15% or above, right? So, for students who need a pathway to find a financial security, again, it can impact their ability to complete. For the economy, employers want a strong workforce, and typically workforce industries rely more on community colleges and universities to really provide the pipeline of trained and credentialed workers, right? So there's an impact for the economy, and then policymakers, right? Knowing how impactful the state level and federal level economy impacts all of us. Again, they're looking at low completion rates as well, right? So it's a global impact when we are dealing with, when we come across low completion rates amongst our students. But what we need to do is recognize that our students are facing real life challenges, right? I fundamentally believe that it's not due to academics, it's not due to a lack of intellect or a lack of aspiration, it's due to real life issues and barriers, right? So from a financial perspective, low income households, right? So with low income, trying to juggle feeding yourself, feeding your children, paying your bills, being able to afford childcare, being able to afford transportation, that's a real life phenomenon, right? Many of our students are working adults or working students, and they have to literally choose between going to school or going to their job that's going to provide them financial support. And then lastly, many students cannot secure, identify financial support for themselves to go to school. There are also non-traditional demographics, right? So maybe it's first time in college. So there's just a lack of awareness because no one in your family, no one in your apartment complex, no one on your block, no one in your neighborhood has experienced college before, right? And the last two, just not having the support of other students. There's a lack of connect, there's a lack of engagement for these non-traditional students when it comes to simply going to class, simply going to school. They don't have a sense of community. And then family matters, right? So there are some familial variables that come into place, right, for non-traditional students, right? There are students that have children, right? So they're raising their own families and trying to navigate and juggle raising a child, getting them to school, taking care of their health and their hunger and their security, but also as a student trying to aspire to go to school, to complete on time, to have a credential, to obtain the job that might change your circumstance. And then part-time students, for many community colleges, it's 2 to 1, in some instances 3 to 1, part-time to full-time. So the time in college is long, where a 2-year program is taking 3, 4, 5 years for a student to complete if they complete. And then logistics. Again, there are institutions that don't have a consistent public transportation, so it's not on a train or bus line. There are students that don't have transportation, or there's only one form of transportation within the household that has to be shared amongst multiple family members. And then something simple as parking. Something simple as trying to get to school on time. You can't find parking. You're late to class. You get to class finally, and then the professor unfortunately has locked the door, or you've missed a huge chunk of the class, right? So these are a variety of barriers and obstacles that our students within the community colleges face on a daily basis, right? So the structure of community colleges, right, that compounds real life challenges for our students, right? So there's a dichotomy in regards to just the idea of going to college and mustering the confidence to go, and also just real life challenges. So the options and resources are unclear. If you're a non-traditional student, if you're a student that's coming from a lower socioeconomic status, if you're coming from an underserved, subpopulation, identifying the options and the resources are difficult, right? Sometimes it's complicated to determine what major works best for an individual because they don't know. They haven't really put much thought into that. What courses to take, what modality of courses to take, what load should you have, how to get involved. So you're new to college, you don't really have a support system. So how do you connect to both the staff, the faculty, and also fellow students? And then lastly, the process of transferring to a 4-year institution, right? So you are trying to navigate a 2-year institution, and now you're faced with how am I going to get to the university, right? So these are some of the unclear paths our students have to travel on. And then lastly, too, just insufficient guidance and support, and not due to lack of effort on the part of the colleges, not due to malice on anyone's part, but just the disconnect between the students and the college staff and faculty. And then resources are scarce, and this could probably take another webinar, right? So typically, Bailey reports per 2015 that the average advisor to student ratio is anywhere from 1 to 800, 1,200 students. In addition to that, state funding is on the decline, federal funding is on the decline. So 2-year institutions are having to do more with less, right? So there's a scarcity of resources in order to combat the surging demand of students in the 2-year space. So let's talk about insecurities. Typically, and any of you who are advisors on the call, any of you that have worked in higher ed for 3 months or 20 years, I'm confident you've experienced that. If you come across a student with one insecurity, so for example, childcare or transportation hunger, they typically, there's a good chance, a strong probability they have other insecurities. So adversity insecurities are bundled for our students where they're both financial, they're familial, there's time, there's logistics. And then typically one insecurity leads to another, right? They compound each other. So as institutions of higher education, specifically in the community college space, we have to tackle these insecurities for our students in a similar approach. We can't be siloed, right? We can't have students bouncing between different departments and different resources, right? We have to do a better job of streamlining the onboarding process and the student support process at institutions. So let's talk about these unseen challenges, right? Our students are overwhelmed, right? Many systems that they have to navigate, right? There's a confidence issue. They've been burned in the past. So there's a distrust they already have before they step foot on college, on a college campus, right? And their time is valuable, right? So the decision to go to school and to try to navigate the class schedule with the life schedule, right? It's costly. It costs time. It costs money, right? At times, students aren't getting the information they need specific to their situation. And then lastly, it adds stress to individuals that are already stressed out by life, right? So the likelihood of these students being at risk and the likelihood of these students being unsuccessful in withdrawing is high, and this is within the first term, right? So if challenges are bundled, therefore our solutions have to be bundled, right? So therefore we have to assess the overall wellness of our students. Before we even talk about instructional and pathways and degree plans, we have to assess what are your challenges, what are your insecurities. And once we've identified those insecurities, we have to bundle the resources so we can stabilize the student, and then we can focus primarily on their academics. So how are we going to do this, right? We have to provide students with a single engagement platform. Today's student has to commute, has to take care of your kids, has to juggle finances and work and just life, right? So if we can consolidate the platform, the medium by which they communicate with the college, they communicate with our staff, the better they're going to be, right? So a single resource is going to give them access to all services, right? Give them access to all communications, and it's easy to use and it's quick. So we have to leverage what's typically available to today's student. So here at NCTC, via our partnership with Ready Education, we launched our mobile app. We launched a mobile app back in fall 2018. It was a soft launch, but it gave our students the ability to really access all resources in one place. As of today, I want to say close to a third of our total student population, we serve about 21,000 students, has downloaded the app. Students can communicate with the institutions. They're asking questions about when's registration, can I return my books, what is the modality of this course, what campus is my class, and then also too just a sense of community. What we experienced was during the first week of launching the app, we had international students, we had non-traditional students posting on the community wall, hey, I am new to NCTC. I don't have any friends. I would like to have some friends. And then you saw the flooding of messages saying, hey, I'll be your friend. Meet me after class. Meet me in the courtyard. Meet me in the lobby, right? So you saw a sense of community via the smartphone digital platform, right? So we've definitely seen an impact to our student success in terms of the level of engagement, in terms of the level of awareness we have about our students. And at this point, I'm going to pass the baton to Julia.
Thank you, Dr. Mazzucco. My name is Julia Reggie. I'm the manager of software integration and student applications at Sierra College in Northern California. A little bit about my background. I'm currently in a role where my team takes care of the technology solutions that students interact with. And prior to that, I worked in the private sector. My undergraduate degree was in information technology from the University of Colorado. And then once I started working in the community college environment, decided to get my master's in business, especially to help with the change management and process reengineering that we're dealing with at our college to support student success. My passion is to take the very effective human solutions that we've had in supporting our students and try to scale those using our technology. We want to reserve our very precious human resources for the one-on-one interaction that will really help students, and technology can help us to do that. Specifically, technology in the mobile realm, where students are choosing to interact with us from their mobile devices to the extent that we're able to. And we're trying to meet them where they are. So a mobile application is one way that we're able to work in that direction. I'm going to talk a little bit about some assessment that we did in looking at our students' first encounter with us. We had a behavioral science company come out and interview our students and our staff, not just at our college, but the state of California took an initiative to do this across the state. So not just at our campus, but at a few other campuses in Northern and in Southern California. And this is one of the quotes from the student. We found this just a little bit heartbreaking because we think this is sending a message to the student that perhaps they don't belong in college. And one of the things that was identified through this onboarding analysis was that we found a lot of students were getting that message throughout their onboarding process and throughout their time at the college, and those who stuck around even all the way through the graduation process. In many cases, the systems are difficult for them to navigate, and it really kind of feels like an insiders only process applies. So if they don't know the right people to ask, it's very difficult for them to get through. In this particular case, a student had just made a typo on their email, so they didn't get their welcome to the college, and they were not able to access our systems. They had to actually make a phone call. One of the things that came out of this was us taking the initiative to reach out to those students who were stuck and to try to encourage them to take those next steps to resolve whatever issues that they had. There are a lot of things that we did in response to this overall initiative of understanding the challenges students encounter during the onboarding. But this is just one example. So how do we address this issue? One of the things that we know is very important is that our students need to be engaged in order to be successful. They need to engage with each other, with their faculty, and in many cases with staff members on campus. They currently have to navigate that on their own, find these resources. In many cases, it's difficult for them to figure out who at this college campus can help me, and especially if they're not able to spend a lot of time on campus wandering around and looking for signage and or meeting with counselors who might be able to advise them where they can go. We want to be able to provide that information to them in a single platform that's easy for them to access, that they know about, and we want that platform to be integrated and accessible to their mobile devices. And why does it need to be accessible on their mobile devices? Well, we know that especially with our incoming students, 97% of them own a smartphone. They're spending more than 4 hours a day on average on that smartphone. And then more than half of the time they spend online is with their mobile device. Taking advantage of the students' access to mobile technology is very important to us. It makes them much easier for them to access our resources if they can access it in the way that they want to. And it helps our non-traditional students access our services, which may previously have been difficult or impossible for them to find, especially those services that require them to physically navigate our campus. We know that so many of the students who need the services the most are unlikely to take advantage of them simply because they don't know about the services in the first place or they don't know how to access them. But when we talk to students, when I meet a student in the lobby, for example, oftentimes I'll just run across a student who looks lost and ask them if I can help. If I tell them something, oftentimes they'll grab their mobile device and start trying to look it up immediately. But in many cases, if we don't have this for them easy to find, they're not going to get very far in that approach. We know that that's the way that they would choose to interact with us, but when we're not providing that ability to them, oftentimes they're going to give up. So we want to encourage them to take advantage of these supports that we offer and to make it easy for them to find and navigate. We do typically have pretty traditional office hours when many of our students we know are working during the day when we are available to help them. How can we take those services that we provide to our on-campus full-time students and make those available to our students 24/7 in a mobile format that they can access them? And mobile is one of the ways that we're able to start to virtualize what we do. Actually, we do very well. A lot of great people on our campus are helping students face-to-face, but we want to be able to provide a similar service to those students who aren't able to show up on campus during the time that is convenient for us. Our students would like to engage with each other, and some of them do that on campus very effectively, and those who can't, more and more students are really participating online. How do we give them the ability to feel engaged, to feel connected, and to establish those things that help them to be successful and help them to persist? If they're not able to come to campus, in many cases, there's not much we can offer them if we don't have a mobile solution. So it's not just online students. Of course, our part-time students, or even just students who are full-time but also have other responsibilities. They need to leave campus as soon as class is over, but they still want to be connected. They still really need to be connected in order for them to stay engaged and be successful. And there's even accountability to students in them, persisting and completing if they feel connected to other students through whatever means we can provide. So this brings me to the integration of everything. Integration is so essential to our students because they see us as one college. It doesn't matter to the student that we have one department for this thing and one department for this other need and this other department that they must interact with when they have this other need. To them, they're one college, and while we may have multiple systems to house those services and to track those services and to schedule those services, we want to make it seamless to the student. Go into this just a little bit further. When a student first interacts with us, as you saw in that previous quote, they fill out an application which is in one system. Then later, when the student needs to come to a counseling session, we're now calling this career and academic planning. They schedule that in a different system, and there's a different mechanism for them to sign into that system. Next, if they need any tutoring or academic support while they're attending classes, that's yet another system. If they want to meet with a peer mentor or a support specialists at our college are case managers who deal with our general student population, those who are not in special programs. That's a different system. And then historically, we have required most of our students to go through a placement process. An assessment test really is what we used to require before they could get into their math and English courses. As a side note, in California, we've done away with that, and now all of our students are allowed to go directly into transfer level coursework for math and English. We offer supports, but it's no longer required. However, some students still need to contact the assessment office in order to get placed into those classes, even those transfer level classes, and to find out whether they'd like to take additional support alongside of that. That's yet another system. And then lastly, the system that they use to register for classes is a different system as well. So we're working to take these things and integrate them and provide the student access to all of these different places that they have to go just to do the bare minimum of attending class and registering for class. We want to provide all of that integrated and in one platform. As we've been doing our student success work and our re-engineering, we've encountered a lot of opportunities to purchase an app that has a one purpose. So we look at those and we think, does it make sense to ask our students to download an app for one thing? We don't think so. When a student is asked to download another app, we're going to have certain students with certain apps and certain students with certain other apps. We believe it's necessary for us to have our adoption in the one app, our Sierra College app, and have students be able to use that app for everything that they need at the college. There may be some limitations of things that they can access through the mobile device, and I think in general, users are aware that there sometimes is a desktop experience that they might choose for certain types of interactions with the college. In fact, we've seen that. Sometimes our students may not want to do their registration on a mobile phone just because the complexity of that, it's a little easier for them to navigate on a desktop. But we still provide it through the app because some students don't have access to a desktop, and we know that. So we need to make it possible for them, even though some of them might not choose to do everything. If they download the app and we can get the adoption across the entire student population, or at least the vast majority, then we know that the things that we do in the app are going to have the greatest impact to our students. Having multiple apps for your students to download is definitely not going to lend itself to widespread adoption, and then you don't have the opportunity to have that impact with the investment you make in apps. So one of the things that we've been really excited about and have successfully been implementing in our Ready Education partnership is that this app allows us to have single sign-on into the various systems. So not everything is going to be a feature within the app itself, but as far as the student is concerned, they download the app and they use it as an entry point into other systems. They're not asked to log in again to those other systems. Once they log into the app, they're in and they can access these various services that to us we know are very difficult to integrate, but once we provide that entry point through the app, the student can just navigate to those different systems and do what they need to do with the college. The other thing that's very exciting to us about having this single entry point of the app for students is that we're able to measure the effectiveness of this. So our ability to take a look at which specific students have downloaded the app, and especially which students are not interacting with the app. We might want to, for example, send a traditional email communication to students who aren't interacting with the app, where we may send a push notification to those students who use the app. There's a lot more examples, but it's really important for us, anything that we think we want to do to impact student success, that we're not making assumptions about what students' behavior is. The ability for us to measure how many and who are doing what within the app is really critical for us to have the greatest impact to our students and to make sure that nobody's falling through the cracks. And just another note on app adoption, there's always going to be some portion of the student population who may not choose to download the app for whatever reason, or they may not choose to use it. Those students, we have other ways of meeting their needs, but those students who are interacting with the app may have an enhanced experience in some respects. And while we can live with that, we're still making sure that we identify who those students are and that we provide alternatives for them if an app is not their choice of how to interact with us. So, you know, I know some of us do get that concern. It comes up in a lot of our meetings about what we want to do with our mobile strategy. I just wanted to mention that, you know, at least at this point in time, we still think it's important to meet those needs of the students who don't choose to download the app. But by and large, we don't think that those things are mutually exclusive. We provide the same systems through the desktop for the most part, but there are some additional things the student can get through the app. One of the things we're really excited about is, you know, just the machine learning recommendations. So if a student downloads the app and interacts with certain content, they're going to see other content that's relevant to them based on other things that they've done in the app. We have been attempting to do something like that for a very long time at our college by, you know, setting up technology rules and measuring specific data and then sending out other information to students based on that. But it's incredibly difficult to do and to scale. So we've been able to do it in bits and pieces for specific things that we knew we had campaigns on. But the idea of having machine learning augment that and really provide it to all students, not for various things and not just the ones that we've identified, is pretty exciting for us. Another thing that we find in our app data is we get surprised oftentimes about what the students are doing when they interact with the app. We had some assumptions going into it about what students wanted, and some of that was maybe based on student feedback, but over and over again we're learning that we make a lot of assumptions about our student population based on the most vocal students or what we hear or who happens to be represented in the meeting when we're planning and discussing. So the ability to use this data about student behavior is so critical, and it's really it's powerful in our conversations of how do we address needs for the bulk of our student population based on what we know from the data. We're also using our app to nudge students towards their next step. So when a student applies to our college, at the end of the application, we have integrated 4 advice cards that they see, and one of those 4 is to download the mobile app. It tells them that you should download the mobile app so you can get important information about your next steps. So that's the first thing. They see that right after they apply. Hopefully they choose to do that. And if they do, they'll get push notifications from within the app reminding them about the next steps that they need in order to enroll in classes. And then we're able to also provide nudges to the students throughout their time at the college. Just another example of what we're doing with the mobile app pushes is if a student is on a wait list for a course and their position comes available, the app will send them a push notification letting them know that it's their turn to enroll. That's important because the student only has 48 hours, and it's one of those pain points that's existed for a long time that a student, if they don't check their email every day, they will miss that notification, and then they'll miss their opportunity to get that important class that they need. So the app has helped us to resolve that concern for a lot of our students. So I would like to just wrap up here. We've had a very good experience in our app so far. We're excited about the enhancements that are coming with the upgraded Ready Education platform. We've had a lot of positive feedback from our students. One of the biggest things that we're hoping to leverage is this ability to provide our campus clubs communication avenues with the students who choose to join those clubs. So we don't have a great mechanism for that currently. We're in the process of implementing those features in the Ready Education platform. It's going to really give us some long unmet needs, be able to resolve that communication with our students and provide avenues for students to engage with each other and with the groups that they've told us they want to be a part of on campus.
And Julia, let me just add, I echo your sentiments. We're really excited in terms of the next chapter of the usage of the app. We are looking at comprehensive learning records, co-curricular activities, have it be from student affairs or academic side of the house, is really important here at NCTC. And being able to not only track the activity of students, but also to provide that information at an institutional level to really identify successes and areas of opportunity. So, we look forward. We definitely enjoy this partnership with Ready Education. It's been a great experience, and leveraging the digital space, leveraging smart devices has been a no-brainer for us.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Dr. Madoko. Thank you so much, Julia, for those insights. But I did want to sort of conclude this presentation here by just covering what we learned today. So again, as Dr. Madoko covered, the community college students today face these real-life challenges that are really impeding their success. But in addition to this, there are also structural challenges within community colleges that really compound these real-life challenges. Having to navigate numerous complex systems on campus is a huge, hindrance to their success, simply because it takes time, it takes money, and it adds stress to their already stressful lives. This unseen challenge is something that institutions really need to identify, really need to be able to address in order to help their students and enable their students to be as successful as possible. So what can institutions do to address these challenges? Well, first of all, institutions must realize that insecurities are bundled, and as a result, solutions must also be bundled. We need to stop thinking of insecurities as existing in silos or in vacuums. Often one insecurity leads to many others. And as a result, we really, in order to address them effectively, we need to provide solutions that are also accessible and bundled together so that students do not need to go to various systems or various departments or various resources in order to get answers. They can get it through one resource or one platform. And this is where that single engagement platform really comes in. So we need to be able to provide our students with that single platform that allows them to get access to all the information, all the resources, and all the support that they need from the institution. This platform must be mobile and it must be integrated, as Julia mentioned, because mobile, we know that students today are digital natives. 97% of them own smartphones. This is sort of the method by which they want to engage with the institution and they want to engage with each other. So as higher education and professionals and as institutions, we must be on the platforms that these students are on. And it must be integrated, because if we're simply building mobile platforms for the various systems that we have on campus, we're not actually impacting the challenge. We're just providing them another avenue to sort of access these systems. All of those systems must be accessible within one platform, because that one platform will allow students to access the information that they need. It is that one point of entry to these various disparate systems. And ultimately, it provides invaluable data to both to the institution to do two things. Number one, to really personalize and customize the student experience and allow students to sort of have the experience that they need. We can use data to identify, which programs a particular student is interested in, or which events, which services they need at any given time. So that customizes and personalizes the student experience. And on top of that, it also provides invaluable engagement data to the institution. It gives them information on, how are students engaging, who is engaging, and more importantly, who is not engaging, and what can institutions do to really nudge them in the direction that they need to be nudged. So again, as institutions, we must recognize that insecurities when it comes to students are often bundled, and we must provide them with the solutions that are bundled and are available in one place. And providing those solutions and those resources through a campus app, through a single engagement platform, is really the way to go. So with that, I'd love to open up the floor to questions. I know that throughout the course of the presentation, there have been quite a few questions coming in from the audience. So if you had any questions, if you have any thoughts, please feel free to put that into the question box now. I'll be posting posing these to our panelists, our speakers. So we do have a few questions here. I'm just going to sift through them really quickly. So we have a question that states, there are two additional concerns I'm finding. Number one, learners are not well prepared for college work, including writing, time management, and technology. So Dr. Meduco or Julia, would one of you like to maybe address this concern, the fact that learners are not well prepared for college work?
Yes, Ali, I'll take a stab at that. In terms of the preparation, I mean, that is a common struggle, I think, as higher ed practitioners we see across the country, we see across our campuses. And again, utilizing a digital platform to really help us better assess college readiness. So even though there might be a placement exam that states that a student is ready or not ready for a certain level, having a better quote-unquote understanding, because we know that in the two-year space, we can't control where our students are coming from, right? We don't get to select who we serve, right? But I think that's the benefit and the challenge of the two-year space. So being able to kind of determine some type of metric, some type of instrument where we can address that piece would be really vital. And again, that comes from ideas and brainstorming from respective staff. So if you guys were able to have your own native mobile app, what ways would you engage with your students to determine their level of readiness?
And I would add to that in terms of software integration, and really this is a interesting time for us in California, where we're no longer requiring students who come to us underprepared to take remedial education. So we're putting them straight into transfer level coursework. We find it more important than ever right now to identify those students early and to really nudge them towards those support services. This is helping us to uncover quite a few things with our students. We're realizing once again that students who need the support the most aren't feeling comfortable, or for whatever reason aren't availing themselves of tutoring services and additional academic support that we have to offer. So this again is where being able to measure who's accessing what services is so critical. If we put students into a course and they feel overwhelmed from day one, what's likely to result? But if we're able to quickly identify who those students are, reach out to them and provide them an easy way to access these services, to let them know about these services, that's again where students coming in, I believe that the vast majority of students coming in have used an app before. And the app is so intuitive, it really doesn't require any training whatsoever. I I think to provide access to those services through a mechanism that students are very comfortable with already gets us in the direction that we're trying to go with that.
Amazing. Thank you for those insights, Dr. Manduca and Julia. I have a question here from Lisa. Lisa asks, have you seen a decline in numbers of students coming in person for services since launching the app? Dr. Manduca, I'll let you go first, and then Julia, if you want to chime in after that.
So Ali, please repeat the question.
Have you seen a decline in numbers of students coming in person for services since launching the app?
You know, that's a complicated question. It depends on the campus. You know, we have seen a decline because I feel that students they're able to get the answers, get some of the services and connections they need remotely without having to hop on the road, navigate, juggle the transportation insecurities. Can basically, you know, avoid and save that trip. So we've seen some decline, but I think we need more data, and also too just an effectiveness survey in regards to what are the benefits for the students, and that's something that we're currently working on. But we have seen a dip, and to us that is promising, right? That's a promising trend, but we want to ensure that students are still able to receive the services that they need.
On our campus, we have so many changes happening at once. We have not seen a decline in the amount of students who take advantage of these in-person services. What we would hope, though, is that students who have a more simple need can get that need met by interacting with our technology and saving those appointments, of which we have too few already, for the students who really do need that one-on-one service.
Thank you, Julia. A question from Magdalena. She asks, how does the mobile app help colleges assist students with a guided pathway? Any insight on that?
You know, guided pathways obviously is a major trend throughout this country, and here in Texas, you know, we are close to fully implementing guided pathways for both our technical and academic transfer programs. Leveraging the app for us will open the door to connect our students with their advisors. You know, we're moving to a case management advisor model here at NCTC where upon matriculation, students are assigned an advisor from day one, and that advisor sticks with them through their completion. So being able to connect with the advisor in the beginning, build that relationship, you know, get a student on a degree plan, and then obviously not only track the progress of the student, but utilize nudging, right? Utilize notifications and kudos to help encourage that student along the way. So we feel that there's going to be definitely a really close relationship between leveraging the mobile app and really ensuring that our students are staying on path when it comes to guided pathways.
Now for us, also, you know, guided pathways does touch everything at the college, and the bulk of the work is being done outside of technology in the organization of how we service our students, what we provide for them, and how that stuff, all of that is organized. But one of the more tangible aspects of that in terms of the app is we have a case management system where the students can go into that system and book an appointment with their support specialist. It's on a grand scale our case management model for those students who are not already in a special program. We are in the process of embedding a link to that into the app. So again, it's that student's going to access the ability to schedule an appointment with their support specialist. They want to know, who is my person that I go to when I have a struggle or I have a need that's not met? This gives every student that person to go to and the ability to access that person via the app.
We have a question from Lisa who asks, who manages the app? Is it one person, a group, a department? Are there super users within the service areas? So how does the management of the app break down at your respective campuses?
So here at North Central Texas College, it's a collaborative process. So we have a strong partnership with Ready Education, right? So we have we have a great liaison with Ready Education where there is constant communication in regards to our level of satisfaction with the app. At the college level, there's basically a group which is a partnership between IT student affairs, student life, recruitment, and other members of the college community to truly have multiple eyes on this project, not only to manage the content, because we partner with all major departments in the college, but also to track the usage, right? So we're able to download stats in regards to the downloads, the messaging, what features are being used. So that's been really a very robust and drill down process in regards to that. We're disaggregating the data to truly have a better understanding of what our students are getting from the app.
And I'll quickly add, at our college, I'm responsible for the actual implementation and making sure that things work. But we have a student communications specialist. That position has been very impactful to our general student population because essentially we have centralized our communications out to our general student population through this one office, and it now resides in marketing. But that person will also be managing the content that goes into the app and making sure that we think about how is this coming across to students. Are we using one voice? All of those things taken into account. So we think that's a natural fit for where the content management of the app goes. But when it comes to certain subsections of the campus, such as clubs, we're deciding right now who and how many. But there is the ability to provide just partial access for content managers just to certain groups within the app.
Well, I do realize we're at the top of the hour now. I just wanted to thank both of our speakers for the insight, the sort of their advice and the information that they provided today. Thank you so much to both of you, and I want to thank everyone in the room as well. Should you have any questions or any comments that you'd like to make on the presentation, on the content, or to connect with us, our contact information is there on the screen. So I hope you all had enjoyed this presentation. I hope you took something away from it. And if you have any feedback on it, please do reach out to us. We look forward to connecting with you. So thank you, Dr. Mutuku. Thank you, Ms. Arage. Really appreciate your time. And I hope the rest of you have a very, very good day.